So this is the iPad Pro 2018, otherwise known as the 3rd generation iPad Pro, and it's awesome. I've been using mine since August 2019, so about 8 months, and it's been great. The display, the performance, everything is awesome. When it first released in 2018, it was running iOS 12, but ever since September of 2019, it's been running iPadOS 13, which is a particularly important update for the iPad lineup. In this video though, I want to discuss why the iPad Pro from 2018 is worth buying over the 2020 iPad Pro, otherwise known as the 4th gen iPad Pro. Let's get into it. So money is a pretty important factor when deciding to buy something, especially for such an expensive product. The 4th generation iPad Pro costs $1049 Canadian, whereas the 3rd generation can be found anywhere between $650 or $750 on websites such as Kijiji or eBay. And those websites don't have tax included in the product, so that's a bonus. Unfortunately, the 3rd generation iPad Pro is not yet available on Apple's certified refurbished products, so that's kind of a bummer, but you can still find this on websites such as Kijiji, like I mentioned earlier. Let's go a bit further than that and say that you spend $800 on the iPad Pro 3rd generation. You would still be saving $385.37. With that money, you can buy the 2nd generation Apple Pencil, the Logitech Sim Folio Pro, and a smart cover that costs $22.99 on Amazon, all of which total $334.97. So you still have some money remaining. So if you either want to save that money and get the same product as the 2020 iPad Pro, which is the 2018 iPad Pro, you can do that, or you can spend the remaining money on, like I said, accessories such as the Apple Pencil and 2 cases. By the way, subscribe to see reviews of all the accessories that I mentioned. The hardware of the 2 iPads are nearly identical. If you held the 2020 iPad Pro up and the 2018 iPad Pro up, you basically wouldn't be able to tell the difference until, that is, you flip it over and focus on this little guy, the camera, where the 2020 iPad Pro has a module similar to the iPhone 11 lineup. The 4th generation iPad Pro adds a new sensor called the LiDAR sensor. This sensor basically helps with augmented reality. In addition to the LiDAR sensor, Apple also included the super wide angle lens from the iPhone 11 lineups, just for convenience, I guess. The processors of both iPads are also very identical. The 3rd generation iPad Pro has the A12X chip, which is not very different from what the 2020 iPad Pro has, which is the A12Z chip. The only noticeable difference is really in the name, the letter change. Otherwise, it's really not that different. And another minor difference is that the 3rd generation iPad Pro has 4 GB of RAM, whereas the 4th generation iPad Pro has 6 GB of RAM. And that's not really a big difference because of the software they both run, which handles RAM really well. Speaking of software on both devices, they are literally the same. They both run iPadOS 13 and they're both gonna receive future updates like iPadOS 14 or whatever they call the next version. Going back to accessories for a second, Apple also marketed a new Magic Keyboard alongside the 4th generation iPad Pro. This keyboard accessory primarily exists to satisfy one new feature of iPadOS, which is mouse support. The Magic Keyboard has a trackpad built right in and also has a cool aspect to it, as most Apple devices tend to have, which is that it gives an illusion of a floating iPad. The keyboard itself is powered through the 3 pins on the back of the iPad, so there's no external connection like Bluetooth or anything. However, one major unattractive aspect of this keyboard accessory is the price. This thing costs $399 Canadian. But a good thing is that if you already have the 3rd generation iPad Pro, the Magic Keyboard will work perfectly with it because it's got those 3 pins at the back. So even less reason to buy the 4th generation iPad Pro over the 3rd generation. So the iPad Pro from 2018 is basically the iPad Pro from 2020, but just with additional camera lenses. So getting the 3rd generation over the 4th generation will not only save you money, but you also won't be missing out on important hardware and software features like iPadOS 13 and the awesome 120Hz display that both generations do have. So what do you think? Would you rather get the 3rd generation iPad Pro, or would you still go for the 4th gen 2020 iPad Pro? Leave a comment down below with your choice. If you liked the video, click that like button and share it with your friends and family. Hit that subscribe button to see more, and stay indoors and stay safe.